Look, insurance sucks. I'll just make it suck less. If you're an insurance agent and you're ready to maximize your true potential in the insurance world, then let's go! Before we start, let's get one thing for certain. I wasn't always out here big money earning. A page in my life, I turned it and got into insurance. But hold up, let me back it up a bit. When I was growing up, I felt restricted. From 4 to 5 houses, we got evicted. Got into construction, I was so broke during those years. Get off work, start bitching, hit the couch, drinking beer. I thought my dad was proud of me, I was walking in his shoes. But I heard something inside of me that I now know is true. Just because you share the same blood and DNA, that doesn't mean you gotta do life the same way. Quit that job, the boat, I burned it. I went into insurance, 80K in 9 months, yeah, your boy is earning. And 300K in the next year. Man, I used to be broke and drink beer, but now we're here, let's go. Insurance sucks, I just make it suck less. If you're an agent and you're ready to maximize your true potential in the insurance world, go to bradhannon.com. I'm a health insurance hustler, Bradley Hannon's the name. I'm here to teach these agents how to play the game. I'm a health insurance hustler, one thing you should know about me. I'm a health insurance hustler, bradhannon.com.
What is up, everyone? I'm excited. I've got Emily Trevino here, who we were just talking before this. Got to hear my rap song for the first time. So live reaction. What do you think, Em?
I actually think it's really cool. I've listened to him do some songs for other agencies and agents, and I actually really like it. And you do make insurance suck a little bit less.
We got to have fun. We got to have fun. So listen, I know most of the people on this probably know who you are. That's kind of a no-brainer, but maybe for those that catch the live or the recording, or maybe those that are on the live stream that don't know who you are, why don't you introduce yourself, share a little about you, and then I'll talk about why I brought you on and the value I think you could bring the audience.
Yeah. So my name's Emily Trevino. I've been in the health insurance space for well over 10 years. It's kind of a running joke. I won't tell people exactly how long because I don't want to be
aged. She was 12.
Yeah. Started when I was a 5. I just keep getting younger. Just kidding. But I started in the Medicare space and then transitioned into under 65 before Obamacare and ACA and all of that. And we've just been doing it ever since. Growing and scaling our agency has been something that we focus on this year. And that's how I got to meet you and a bunch of other people like Cody and Brock and Pete and all, Tyler, all the wonderful people out there. So.
Well, and when you say scaling like crazy, you mean it. Like scaling like crazy. You're popping up everywhere. I see it every event. I was in Houston. I could not see you. So, you're all over the place, and you managed to do it all. So, let's dive in, shall we?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So, for those of you that don't know Emily, obviously now you know her. She just introduced herself, but I want to tell you about why I wanted to bring her on, and this is something that. It even during the intro, right? You hear the song, right? 80K in your first year, and then 300 my second year, and whatever. Well, that was 5 years ago now, and in those years, right, when I made 80K, paid to my LLC, I thought I made 80K. I probably spent 120 that year. The following year, I made 300, and I probably spent $500,000. And so it takes maybe some time without mentorship or without the right, people or without the right content like this to understand really how insurance is a business, right? This, we're selling. Yeah, we're, some of us are working with FMOs or IMOs or, maybe even captives or whatever the case is. But most times we're paid commissions, and those commissions are treated like income. But Emily is somebody who is very passionate about not just setting yourself up as a business, right? The proper entities and all that stuff, but understands, a lot of that, right? And we both see a lot of insurance agents out there treating their insurance agency not quite like a business. So I wanted to start there because that's a huge passion that, a lot of these agents are probably going to make more money than they know what to do with, or hopefully they're making more money than they know what to do with over the next 75 days. And so let's talk about kind of, let's go in first to setting yourself up properly as the LLC, and then just some practical business tips for running your insurance agency like a business.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, and I was at Cody Askin's Road to 8%, and I had this speech about, the different phases of your business, and essentially when we first go into this, and I think you mentioned it as well when we were at the Rising Star workshop, but when we first go into this, we're hurting for money. Like, we just need to make money, right? And so it's hard because you're like, okay, I need to sell something. I need leads. I need a call. I need activity. I need a call. I need appointments. I need to sell. I need to close. I need to follow up. So you have a lot of these, like, you get stuck in this sales mindset, which is absolutely necessary in that phase of your business. But then you have to transition where you're like, because we're creatures of habit. So we just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. But at the end of the day, you have to take a step back because you're running a business. And really what you learn in this business, you can replicate in every business. You can duplicate in every business as well. And so that will come in handy later in life. When you're not struggling for money and you have more money than you know what to do with. But with that being said, I think where people get lost and I learned this from my business partner. Kim learned this because she has a specialty. She's a enroll agent. I don't know what the IRS. She's some tax designation thing. I don't know. But she started talking to me about it, and I'm like, what? I mean, I was a sole prop. DBA is Emily Trevino, $15 at the county courthouse, filing everything under my social. And she's like, Emily, you're going to kill yourself in taxes. And I'm like, what? What's that? I just pay it to the government, So she kind of taught me about it. And then now I've been like really talking to agents, like, you need to spend the $500, get your LLC, learn the proper designations, like maybe an S Corp. Is what most agents use, but that may not be for you if you're doing other things. So you need to like talk to somebody about that. But there's two main reasons to do that. And it all ends with your exit strategy. So there's only one of two things you're going to do with your company. Oh, where's my camera? There's only one of two things you're going to do with your company, right? You're going to either sell it or you're going to let somebody inherit it. That's it. So if you're not set up as an entity, when you go to sell it, it's not as valuable, right? Your book of business is not worth hardly anything. And then if you were to pass away or you want to let your family inherit it, it's a complete pain in the butt unless you are set up as an entity. So that's why I'm really passionate about getting people to get set up initially and correctly. Once you start making a little bit of cash flow, I would say once you're making about $50,000, regardless of how much you're spending, when you're making $50,000 in income as an insurance agent, you need to set up correctly.
50,000, is that gross revenue, or that's 50,000? Like, that's just 50,000 in commissions coming into yourself.
Commissions. Yep. You can never start too early.
So you said you started as a sole prop. What were you doing at that time? Like when you first started and you were just, in that sales mindset of just, hey, I'm sell, gotta sell, gotta follow up, gotta, whatever. What were you doing? Were you just an independent agent?
I was an independent agent. I just started in the Medicare arena or whatever. And I mean, this was back in the days when FMOs had to pay you your commissions and there was no training. It was like, here's a summary of benefits, go read it, and good luck to you. I mean, I was in and out in appointments in 15 minutes. And actually, that was before CMS guidelines. Like, that was before you couldn't call them.
The Wild West.
Yeah, where you could flip people for every 90 days. And not that I did that, but I'm just saying that's what was going on.
But you could, hypothetically.
You could. And that's a lot of the reason why those guidelines hit, because people took advantage of the enrollment seasons and they took advantage of the product and the industry. And that's why we have the strict rules that we have now. So that's just how that works out.
Do you foresee that, not to get too far off on a tangent about this, but do you foresee that let's say Obamacare ACA exists for the next 5 years, hypothetically speaking, do you see that happening in the ACA space the same as it did the Medicare space? Because it is kind of like the Wild Wild West now.
I do. I think it's regulated by the same entities. So why wouldn't it be? Right. I think right now, though, there hasn't been a lot of hype to go and sell it. I mean, we hype it up because we see the money and the potential, but it's just, I would say this is like the first year that I see people coming out of the woodworks wanting to sell ACA. And it's because it is a little bit of work. It's not a really complicated product, but it is a little bit of work. And I do feel like at some point you're going to get the bad apples who come in and do a lot of bad things, and then we're going to be stuck in the same situation. Now, CMS has a little bit of insight because or Health and Human Service, all of the things, all of the government entities have a little insight because they manage Medicare. But at the end of the day, I do feel like there's going to be some regulations. I don't think it'll be as strict, but there will be more regulations that come down. It's just only a matter of time.
I agree. They already termed a coin for all this whole NPN switching. I think I've seen it mentioned a couple times. You're calling it NPN sniping, not CMS, but like the agents out there on the streets. Or, Mike Moore, I heard the other day saying NPN snipe, and I'm like, I love that, but I hate that that's happening. But I see why it would. I mean, why wouldn't it? The door's wide open for it to allow it. So it's interesting. Well, you mentioned that you started in Medicare, right? And now obviously you're still doing Medicare, but I know you do a ton of ACA. We typically see, I typically see the transition from health in under 65 to Medicare as an obvious one, right? It's one that you can't even your clients are turning 65, you're referring them out, and then eventually you wake up and you're like, okay, I should write Medicare too, okay, because it's a natural thing. But I don't see it as common from a Medicare agent, right, to go backwards in the cycle and go after some under 65 business. I preach it all the time. In fact, at Justin Brock's Medicare conference, if you guys are going to that, drop it in the comments. Let me know that you're going to be there. I want to see you guys there. If you're not, whether you're under 65 or Medicare, I know Emily will be there at Medicare Con. That's what we're talking about. I'm talking about getting paid to generate your own T65 leads. In other words, writing them right before they're 65 to get them when they turn 65. But what had you transition from Medicare to health, considering you just don't see it that often, especially 10 years ago?
Well, I think it was just more of the opportunity. So as agents, you have to keep your eyes on different product lines. I understood branding. I had Kim. She was actually part of my downline originally before we partnered up to scale, but she was in the Vietnamese market. And so, this was coming out, and this was going to be something that was going to be heavily impacted, and it could not impact in a negative way, but could heavily impact and help people in her community. So there was an opportunity for that, but there's really just an opportunity. And that's what, as business owners, we need to pay attention to is what's going on legislatively that will impact your business, whether it's negative or positive, right? So it was more of an opportunity that we got into that. I was already selling under 65 for just random people that I would come across, mainly self-employed people, mom and pop shops, things that like a group plan wouldn't make sense for, but I wasn't like actively marketing it. It was just people that I knew, mainly real estate agents, really. But and then when ACA came, it was like, yeah, it is, and you can work it. But that's kind of, is paying attention to the opportunity, and we got in on it first, and we captured that market share before other agents were able to. And then from there, we branded as a health insurance expert. And like you said, for Medicare, I'm starting to see more agents on Medicare coming to the ACA side. But just to kind of give perspective, we weren't really using a CRM tool effectively. And then when we started doing that this past year, believe it or not, we had almost 200 clients turning 65 that were our ACA clients.
That you might not have noticed.
That's a lot of business.
That is a lot of business.
We do like Medicare seminars, and we're getting the spouse in the house that's under 65, her husband or wife or vice versa, whoever. The spouse is wanting to retire, but they can't because they have to carry health coverage. And so when we show them, we look up their doctors, we look up their prescriptions, we show them something equivalent, then they're like more apt to retire. And then we capture them as a Medicare and as an ACA client. So it's very easy.
Absolutely. I love it. And we are seeing more and more of that. I'm seeing more Medicare agents writing the under 65 because it is, it's just being vocalized more. And that was my goal from, a year and a half, 2 years ago, just to get rid of the bad name that health insurance has, under 65 health insurance has, where everyone's saying there's no money in it. And by no means do I want, everyone and their brother entering the market that I'm after and making it more difficult. But we talked about this in Houston, the scarcity mindset's a real thing that I don't really struggle with. I mean, hey, if you guys want to join us, it is an extremely underserved niche. And we're here to tell you there is obviously a lot of money in it. So let's get into open enrollment, right? Since we're talking about under 65 health now, give some practical tips on, obviously ACA, right? Yeah. But more so, let's stay on the same topic of running your business like a business in the peak busiest time of the year. How do you, what's some practical ways to do that?
So the first thing that everyone has to understand is that the last quarter of the year is it's pretty hot and tempting. It's like one big vacation,
you mean like with holidays and stuff?
Yeah.
And fall and
Thanksgiving, Halloween, mainly December is like crazy. Like every weekend's booked with Christmas parties, pub crawls, whatever you're doing, ornament parties for the ladies. I don't think guys do that, but we do. So, it's just like your calendar is so full of these things. And then you have all these activities, and then it's like spend time with your family and balance and it's all this stuff. And as a business owner, you got to get a grip. Because it is like, it's go mode. It is not vacation time. It is go mode. Because let me tell you what ends up happening. Most people will take the vacation off, right? They're like, I'll just take the month of December off. Medicare is over. ACA is done after the 15th. But for us, it's going to go through January now. But for us, we didn't do that last year. We continued doing our retention programs. We had our OEP marketing plans going. Like we kept the momentum up. And like you said earlier, like I'm popping up everywhere, but it's mainly because I'm carrying off the momentum. I don't take a break.
Yes.
Now I did have my family vacation for a week and I was like with no internet. So that was tough. But it doesn't matter because you're carrying the momentum. And that is, as a business owner in any business, you need to do that all the time. So you need to master your schedule. So I was on I'm on a group video thing with Pete Fournier, and we were talking about, how people are maximizing their schedule. Like I look at my schedule the night before, see what I got going on the next day. I spend my Sunday evenings. In fact, as a family, we're not always 100% on this, but as a family, we do like a Sunday night meeting. So I can see like, where do the kids got to go? Where's my husband got to go? Where am I going to make sure our calendars look legit? Because we all have our own things and our own goals we're trying to accomplish, right? But you got to master your calendar and use the evenings and weekends to maximize your time. So during the day, like right now, they should be doing transformational things for their business. My business coach, JT Fox, talks about that all the time. You should have at least 5 transformational activities you're doing every single day, whether it's building a relationship, which is what we're doing right now, right? If it's prospecting, if it's closing sales, the things that are going to make your business grow to the next level should be done every day during business hours. The evening time is what you are going to use your time for creating flyers, reporting, tracking commissions, looking at your schedule. All that stuff is stuff you do in the evening and on the weekends. And let me tell you, you can get so much accomplished by just an hour in the morning or an hour at night without everybody walking in your office doing things anyway. So I think for business owners, that's what you have to do.
So what is that? I'm interested in the Sunday meeting, like when it does happen and it happens right? Like the best, give me the best case scenario. How does that play out? Because speaking of work-life balance, that seems to me, work-life balance, first of all, I believe is kind of a myth, right? Your work and your life are all one and the same, and they should, work in unison. But, for purpose of the saying work-life balance, that seems to be something that would be extremely helpful in keeping a balance. So let's share.
Well, here's the honest to God truth. If you're going to grow your business, if you're in hyper growth and scale mode, there is no work-life balance. And I had a great conversation with John Wetmore about it. And the thing is you're going to slay it now so you can relax later, right? That's the concept. So once, going back to the phases of your business, once you're in growth mode and you're like building and duplicating yourself, that's when you can kind of take a step back a little bit and kind of have a little bit more of that balance. However, you still don't want to like get divorced and like have your kids hate you either in the process. So my non-negotiable is dinner time, I will have dinner with my family. We make sure that we talk about our wins that day. Everyone does that. Even our 4-year-olds do that. We talk about our goals. And then on Sunday evenings, what we try to do when it goes right is we sit down as a family right after dinner and we go through like, my son's got games this day. My daughters have games this day. My husband's traveling. He was just in Denmark visiting his family. And so that way we can coordinate and we're all in the right headspace and nothing's a freaking surprise. Because that's when stuff gets stressful, That way you can prep the clothes are ready to go, like everybody's gear and your calendar is just as important as your spouses and your kids, So everybody, the thing is you're not going to grow your business without support from your family, and them knowing your goals and knowing what your vision is just as important as your team. And as important as you. So if you don't know your goals and your family doesn't know your goals, and that's probably why y'all are running around like a chicken.
It is always the surprises, heading out to the office or heading out to go to work in the morning, and I thought you were taking the baby to school, or I thought you were taking the kid to school, and then that's when things happen. And I mean, even if you do all these things, you're still gonna get it wrong from time to time, but that's what makes you realize, like when you get it right and then you get it wrong, that's what makes you realize. Like when my wife and I share a calendar, we put it on the calendar and it makes it on the calendar and I'm looking at my calendar and I see it. Oh, okay, cool. But when it's not, and then it pops up, that's when issues arise. So I love that. Yeah. And it's entirely important throughout these last few months of the year, considering it is, the time it's growth season, no matter what season you're in your business on a 5-year chart, let's say, this season is going to be a growth season. It should be a growth season regardless. But what are the other seasons? I may have missed that, but for the audience that may have missed
you were at 8%. What are those? So, okay. Well, hopefully no one has to hear this other seasons again. I know. So the first season was getting your foundation correct, right? Okay. Which we talked about getting your entity set up. The second season is when you're like a solo entrepreneur, right? You're just doing everything on your own. Then you'll move into where you're going to start building a team, duplicating yourself. Then your next season is where now your sole responsibility is generating revenue. Like you have people to duplicate yourself for you, right? So you're just looking at numbers. That's when you're starting to look at investment opportunities, building other businesses, things like that. And then your fifth season is your exit strategies for whatever business it is. And I think it's really important for people to understand their exit strategies before, and it can change. It can totally change, but just kind of understanding, and that's like helps you understand where your end goal is so you can get there. And it wasn't really something I understood until I went to Nate's SWAT event. And I was like, I've never really thought about my life 90 days out because I'm just not like that. But now I do. And so now I'm like, okay, let me start from here and then work my way backwards,
Wow, that's awesome. I'll have to, Eric, I know you're watching. Make sure you clip that little section out. Shout out to Nate for the SWAT event, man. It is a crazy transformation to go through that. And I've got to admit, I don't think like that either. I was telling somebody the other day, just to get real transparent and honest with you, I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, I always struggle with the end game. Actually, I might've been talking to Cody, but I always struggle with like giving a finite, hey, this is what I want, because I tend to live in like a gray area. Like, right now I want a blue car, but tomorrow I might want a white car, I don't struggle with making decisions. Sometimes I want different things at different times. And so thinking, what do I want in 5 years? I'm like, well, I can tell you what I want now in 5 years, but that can change. And so it doesn't like get written
and that's
down.
Okay if it does, though. It's okay because you're constantly being exposed to new and bigger and better things. So maybe you're thinking bigger this year than you were last year. Speaking about Cody, his whole think big, right? Well, maybe next year you're doing something even more incredible, or maybe there's a new opportunity and now you're thinking bigger. But like you have to.
So huge.
I tend to not think that far in advance because I don't want to like commit to it because I'm really big on commitment. And if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So I'm having to like give myself some grace when I change my mind, and it's okay. It's okay. It's
that's why I told you I haven't worked with JT. I haven't done anything with JT yet. I follow all his stuff. Love his content. He's an intelligent dude. What you've said about him is amazing. But until I can actually commit some time to it and really dive in, it's not something I'm
Well,
going to
and I'll
dabble
tell
in.
you, he has one of the things that I love about him too is he's being coached, and he is being coached by really tough coaches, and he records it, and you hear it, and you can see him being vulnerable, and I love that.
That's
because
really cool.
then you don't feel like you're just such a loser all the time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
hey,
it happened to him
why is that
too.
so obvious? So I
Yeah.
like that. And by the way, he is not a loser in any capacity at all. I'm just
No.
saying, like, for myself, like seeing
Right.
somebody else be vulnerable and have some of the same kind of mental obstacles that you also go through just makes it seem more real. Like, okay, cool. Give yourself some grace. But I will tell you this, he had one of his mentors on a call that we were listening to. And there's always people that are like, next time. I'll do it the next one. I'll make it to the next 8%. I'll make it to the next SWAT. I'll make it to the next whatever. Or I'm going to get a coach later.
Right.
And then it's like, well, when you go to measure your success, maybe you'll be successful next time. Or maybe you'll be successful next time or next year, so anytime that you are holding yourself back from committing to a coach or mentorship or an event or building a relationship with somebody, right? I'm big on relationships. I love people, and that's like a whole nother segment, but that is going to be what's going to prevent you from being successful. So when you'll just be successful.
When you're measuring it, then you look back and you say, that's this, maybe next time when I do this thing that I've been saying.
So when you're like, why am I not successful? Well, maybe next time you will be. It hits like, oh,
it definitely hits. It definitely hits. A lot of what JT says hits, and that's why he's, it's one of these people where if I'm gonna commit any time to it, I'm gonna be committed, because he's gonna call me on the second that I'm not. You just see it,
and he knows. Like, you could have like 1,000 people on a webinar, and he'll know if you attended it.
Yeah. Oh, that's like, no. His team reached out. I did a survey. I said, actually, I had a baby. It was a Tuesday. It was a Tuesday night thing. My baby was born on. It was a Tuesday night founders call or whatever the deal is. And Wednesday, my baby was born. But Tuesday night, all through the night, like Tuesday afternoon through the night, my wife was having like contractions. We actually went to the hospital. So it's like I had the thing said, why did you miss it? The thing said, why did you miss it or whatever? What was your reason? And I said, had a baby. So
literally
that was that was
my wife would kill me if I was sitting on a webinar while she's
laboring. Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of good resources out there. And I think agents, and whether it's JT or whoever, I think agents, like, that's how you start thinking bigger as a business owner, not an insurance agent. And you have to start thinking different if you want to get somewhere different.
I love it. Yeah, there is a ton. Sometimes I think there's too many resources out there, because you're watching one guy say this and you're watching the other guy say this. There's just a wealth of information out there available. So find your people, get in your corner. Let's talk to the solopreneur, right? You went through the growth phases. Let's talk to most. I would say that like more people than not on these types of calls, on this call right now, or watching the recording, are in that solopreneur position. I'm sure the people that are running teams of 50, 60, 80 agents aren't really watching this right now, and that's okay. But this is really geared towards that solopreneur that's trying to make this a huge open enrollment. What are some practical tips, advice that you would have for somebody going into this as a newer agent or a solo agent, for hitting your goals and measuring yourself and all of these things that I think as people we don't usually do the best job of, because it's we're easy on ourselves sometimes. What's some practical advice?
So I'll speak from experience on what I've been going through. I do marketing strategy calls, one-on-one sessions with my downline, or with my partners. I call them partners, but anyways, my agents, right? And one of the most common things that they have is like, well, where do I get business, or how do I get business? And they're just not putting in enough activity, right? And it's like, do you have leads to call? No. Okay, great. Then you need to put your shoes on. You got to go outside and go generate your activity. You got to find events. You got to go deeper on what you're currently doing. Like, I have a PNC agent that's like, well, I'm not really sure where to get my stuff. I'm like, work your book. This is how you're going to work your book, but don't just rely on that. You need to have different marketing strategies for every component to it. You can't, even if you're just doing Facebook leads, like, that's cool. Or if you're buying leads, like, that's cool. But like, you need to do that in addition to everything else, because like I met an agent, she's like, well, I called leads, and this was more Medicare, but she's had a bunch of leads, and she did mailers and seminars, and things just aren't working out. And I'm like, okay, what about your grassroots stuff? Like, have you done any of that? And she's like, well, no. And I'm like, okay, you could have relied on those leads coming in when these didn't work out, right? You can't always, when things start getting really good, it's going to tend to slow down after a while, right? I think Justin says like, what is it?
Everything works a little, nothing works a lot.
There you go. Thank you.
Or no, it's something like that. But yes, it's everything works a little, nothing works a lot.
Yeah, you just need a little bit of everything. That way you don't need a lot in one marketing thing. And so I think as a new agent, you need to schedule prospecting time. If your appointments are, if you notice that your population likes to meet you in the morning, great. Then afternoon is prospecting time, or if it's vice versa, whatever. But you should be spending 8 hours a day hustling, just like you would if you were working for somebody.
Yeah.
And I do think that it's easy for an agent to get out of the house by 9, go and have lunch for an hour, go to happy hour for a networking event that they get no return on, and then go home because they're tired after a long day. Like, I've already lived that life. I get it. And anyone can lie to themselves. I don't care. Yeah. I've done it. I've been there. It's hard. You're tired in the mornings. You don't want to go, but you have to keep going. And that's where mastering your schedule and having your goals and your activities already listed out for the week, already done, helps you. It's like your roadmap, right? So I give all my agents like a template, and I just tell them, fill this out every week. These are the doctors you're going to hit up. These are the dentists. These are the, I don't know, for ACA or under 65. I mean, you can do self-employers. You can do restaurants. You can do mechanics. I mean, you can do anything. You can throw a freaking dart at a phone book and just go do that. I mean,
except for I think you can't do the phone book thing. I don't think you're allowed to call out of the phone book anymore. Although, who's going to stop?
I don't know where to get a phone
book. You said something there that I want to challenge real quick, because you said this is more of a Medicare thing, right? Because you said mailers and seminars, whatever.
The lady was a Medicare.
Oh,
is what
okay. I was going to say, because would you not like? I know you do some. I know you've taken some unique strategies, and you're not afraid to try, just about anything. So what are some of the maybe more unique marketing strategies that you've used that's worked, or you've had an agent use, or what are some of the more unique grassroots types of things that anybody could do without investing hundreds of thousands or thousands of dollars?
I literally just walk in and talk to whoever. I don't even care what their degree is. I don't care if you're a doctor. It's not intimidating to me. I know health insurance better than a doctor does. Okay. I'm not trying to cure cancer. So it's not unique. I mean, there's not a lot of unique ideas out there. People are doing a little bit of everything. But for me, I just will go and talk to anybody. I mean, if I'm going to go eat lunch, I'm going to talk to them about health insurance. If I'm going to go get my nails done, usually I'm going with Kim, and we're already talking about it. They're typically already our clients. But,
I'm sure she does she has all the nail tech clients.
Yeah, we're going after more too. But what I'm saying is, like, I guess a unique idea would be a little bit more niche. Like, find a niche that works for you. So, like, I know a guy that used to do car sales. So I was like, go hit up all the car salesmen all over freaking Houston and Texas. Like, call all of them. You're relatable. You used to do that. Then you can recruit them later to be an agent if you want, but you know what I mean? So like, just getting really niche in what you can relate to. And if you don't, then that's fine. Maybe go network with other insurance agents. Like, PNC agents are great. A lot of them don't want to do ACA. So go and work out a deal with them. I mean, I just really like grassroots marketing. It's cheap and it's easy. And I mean, unless you live in the middle of a desert, like, you can.
It's effective, right?
And it is effective. It is. But just know that if you visit somebody one time, you're not going to get everything. Like, it's a process, right? So you got to keep track of who you visit every week and go back and visit them and give them new, fresh information. So.
That was something that I had a conversation with one of our newer agents, an agent who, I deeply want to see succeed and win. He was in the youth ministry that I was leading years ago, and now he's an agent, and it's just the coolest thing to see. But I was talking to him about, building a list of 100 people that are close to him and calling them through 5 a day, 10 a day, and then a couple weeks later following up. I don't do a whole lot of the face-to-face. I mean, I do talk to just about anybody I see. Probably too much. My wife is like, do you have to talk to every single person that you see or get in a conversation? I'm like, yeah, well, that's just me. But like from a, I want to help the agent that's like, yeah, but what do I say? Like what? And I know for you and I, it's like, we say whatever, like just talk to him, get to know him, build the relationship. But like, what are some of the ways you start those conversations? Like, is it what's the progression? Like, at what point are you telling them, hey, I sell health insurance. Do you need health insurance? Like, what is it? Is it?
So I don't ever talk about myself a lot. I usually ask them questions about them and like, oh, how'd you get into this business? Oh, that's cool. Does this business, you guys, like how long you been doing this? How many employees are here? Like, I'm like as if I'm at a restaurant, right? Like I'm just a very inquisitive person. So I do a lot of my fact find about not just them, but just like in the environment in general. And you learn more about that person. And then you come in with what problems you're solving. You're like, oh, like if I'm in a restaurant, like, do they offer you health insurance if you're part-time? And they're going to say no. Right. And you say, oh, okay, what do you do for your health insurance? Like, well, I don't know. Like, it's expensive. Really? No. Like, let me explain to you about it. Like, they don't even know I'm a health insurance agent until I'm like, well, let me just help you out with that. Like I was getting my hair done and my
looks great, by the way. I was going to ask.
I did not get it done recently. This was like a month ago. This is like in August.
Oh, I got you.
But thank you. You tried a new shampoo, okay? So, anyways, my stylist had to reschedule my appointment. I was like, dang, So when I finally saw her, she was like, yeah, I've been really sick. Like I need to get my gallbladder removed. She's like, but I'm freaking out because I don't have health insurance. Oh. And I'm like, what? And so then I started talking to her, and I mean, like, just think about it. Like, I was sitting in her chair 6 months before that. Like, why didn't I help her get health insurance? Sometimes you're scared to talk to people. Like, this isn't rocket science. You know what problem you're solving. You're not out there just to make a sale. You're helping people. Like, the federal government needs your help to sell this product to people.
Right.
And people have their head buried in the sand and they don't have health insurance until it's too late. So, I build a sense of urgency with the enrollment periods. That's important. So now we're talking about it, but I do a lot of fact finding, and you don't have to be like creative and salesy, just having a conversation with people and just helping them out.
Yeah, 100%. And I have been in that situation where somebody, whether it be your barber or, your car mechanic or somebody tells you they don't know what you do because you never got into that. And then you find out they had an insurance issue or claim or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, oh man, and that is the reason why you go out there and you network and you talk to people and you help them solve that problem, because you are in this to do that. And you mentioned the federal government needs your help. They need your help so bad that they're like literally at one point they were enlisting salon stylists to talk about health insurance. Was it you and I that were having a conversation or somebody? They had a program that they were trying to start, and this might have been a few years ago back now. They were trying to educate hairstylists and barbers on the ACA, so that in their barber chair they could talk to people about it and just getting the word out. That's how bad they need you, but they need you to openly share that stuff, right? I was talking to the team this morning, and social media is a great tool. Use it every day of this week leading up to open enrollment without question. Like if you never post on social media, this is the week where every single day there should be a post, and it shouldn't just be generic, and it should be
it shouldn't just be like enrollment season's on November 1st. Like everyone's gonna be saying that. So like make them feel the pain. Like I felt really bad that my hairstylist, somebody I talked to on a regular basis about all kinds of stuff, didn't have health insurance. Like I felt bad about that. Like I feel bad that one of our clients had cancer and I didn't sell her a cancer policy, 2 years ago. That stuff I feel bad about. Like we're risk mitigators. When we meet people, it is our job to eliminate as much risk as humanly possible. Now, if they don't take it, that's on them. But at least we give them the recommendation, And like, I just genuinely feel bad if I I feel like a responsibility. Like it's our job
Yeah.
to educate people and let them know that, yes, you can qualify for health insurance. People still think it's super expensive because that's the generic talking points in the media is, oh, health insurance is very expensive and we're barbaric. And I'm like, yeah, but if you qualify for a premium credit, it's not so bad, you know?
Right. And a lot of people do. Right.
Yeah.
I'm with you. The funny thing you said there was if they don't take it, that's on them. But also, pushing back on that a little bit, it's also on you to be better at your craft, which is sales at the end of the day. So like you can't, carry the burden for every single client that didn't take the cancer insurance that, got cancer and you couldn't sell it. But at a certain level, you do have to also understand that, hey, this is like, you've got to take personal responsibility for your craft and becoming better and better at it and more persuasive and more convicted in what you're doing so that less people, not everybody, but less people opt out of that cancer plan or less people, decide to go without health insurance because you are persuasive and you are good at what you do.
And I just had that call. We have a morning call for our team to kind of go over our numbers and wins and, if they had questions and stuff. And I always ask about cancer policy, especially because we're seeing it so much more frequently in our office. And, and they do present it. And I'm like, well, is there a way you could present it better? Right. Like, let's talk through that. And how does this work out? But I was telling them like, exactly what you just said. Like, you have to get better at explaining this to people because if they feel the pain, they will buy it and it's going to benefit them. I'm not saying go feel the pain to buy it and it's a useless product. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if 1 in 2, we're talking about cancer now, but 1 in 2 men can get cancer and 1 in 3 females get cancer, that means that amount of clients that you have. So I have one agent who did 25 Medicare sales last week. I said, if they were all guys, half those guys should have purchased a policy because half of them are going to get cancer. Right. I don't want them to, but that's the number. That's what the stats say. Right. And so if we're not doing a good enough job explaining it to them and letting them understand, if they pass on it, fine, but we got to do everything we can to make sure they understand what they're giving up. And people just don't understand.
Every single day. Train, get better. Get on things like these, and then tag all your friends who also need to see things like these so that they see it as well. Share this out, all of that stuff. But we're going to wrap up here. I want to open it up if anybody has any questions. I did see a question a while ago that we can answer. But if anybody has any questions, now would be a great time. We're going to wrap this thing up in a few minutes here. But somebody said, what type of calendar do you guys use? Which I thought was a great question because I was literally just reworking my Calendly, schedule for new blocking out times for new clients and blocking out times for existing clients. I use Calendly. It's simple. I've used Squarespace. I've used all the different, calendar things. Google Calendar and Calendly is all I use at this point.
Yeah, I use the same thing. I use our Google Calendar for everything. And because it integrates with Calendly, it just works. Like I had to get out of Microsoft Office and Outlook and all that just because it was such a nightmare.
Joe says Outlook.
Yeah, no.
Joe Camper, Outlook. No.
Yeah, no, I'm not a big Outlook person. I mean, I understand, but I would just always have integration issues. So I'm just like, forget it. Yeah. So that's what I use. But getting a calendar is better than not having one. And I will say I like to actually write my stuff down. So I used to have an old school planner, but when I lost it and then I didn't know where all my appointments were, I was really jacked up. So I don't do that no more.
Joe said Androids are the shit too. I don't know about that. I mean, if anybody has any questions, throw them in the chat. This has been probably one of the best, if not the best, pieces of advice that we've had out there for this open enrollment season. I mean, it's been awesome having you on, Emily. Thank you so much. It was great hanging out with you in Houston as well. And the next time I'm there, hopefully we'll be able to catch a ball game or, get some fajitas together. Because
if you want to go buy tickets for the World Series and come on down, I'm available.
There you go. I'm telling you that
the World Series.
They are, along with the Braves. So I'm very torn on what I would like to see. I'm a Braves fan by through my whole childhood, and so I don't know. We'll see, but. I will tell
Well,
you,
they're
if you're
two
ever in
really good
Houston,
baseball teams. That's what I know, and
they
got
are.
there, so.
They are. But if you're ever in Houston, you have to get the fajitas. Emily wasn't lying, and we got the fajitas. Oh my God. What was it? El Tiempo.
El Tiempo,
That
yeah.
place's freaking fajitas were unbelievable. I mean, that was great. 6 grown men ordered like this one platter that literally we ate maybe half of. Like 6 grown dudes couldn't even finish the whole platter. That's how much food it was. So everything's bigger in Texas, including the fajita platters.
And the ACA enrollment opportunities.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Well, thank you, Emily, so much for jumping on. I appreciate your time. I know it's very valuable. Wish you the best for open enrollment season. And thank you guys all for tuning in. We'll see you Wednesday. We've got another killer on the episode for Wednesday at noon. This is a gentleman who Emily in the beginning was talking about. Hey, if you run this like a business, it translates into other businesses. And I didn't bring it up at the time because we were on a roll, but this individual just got into the restaurant business. He was insurance made his 7 figures in insurance, invested in a restaurant. Restaurant's going great. He's going to invest in more restaurants. He's like, I'm surprised at how well I picked it up or how quickly I picked it up. But if you can run the insurance business, you can run the restaurant business. It is, I mean, there's just so many similarities. It's business is business. And so our guest on Wednesday is going to talk about a similar topics. Great guy, been in the business for a long time. So you don't want to miss Wednesday, but you don't want to miss any of these. Wednesday, Friday, all going to be good stuff. We'll see you then.